before the dinosaurs thundered across vast plains and shadowed the skies with their colossal wings. Something far more ancient and enigmatic stirred in the depths of our world. Imagine an Earth untouched by the roar of Rex or the graceful glide of pterosaurs, an era where the planet itself was a forge of fire and fury, birthing life in ways that defy our modern senses. Close your eyes, and let's journey back through the mists of time, to a realm where the air hummed with volcanic whispers, and the oceans cradled secrets that would one day reshape everything we know. Picture this 4 billion years ago. Earth was a molten crucible, a newborn world wrapped in chaos. The surface boiled with lava seas that stretched endlessly under a sky choked with ash and lightning. The air was thick, unbreathable, a toxic brew of methane and ammonia that would sear the lungs of any creature daring to inhale it. No gentle breezes here instead. Howling winds whipped across glowing craters, carrying the acrid scent of sulfur. Like the breath of a slumbering giant, rivers of liquid rock carved canyons deeper than any we know today, and the ground trembled with the planet's restless heart. It was a time of raw creation, where the first whispers of life emerged not in verdant forests, but in the scalding vents at the ocean's floss simple cells, resilient and defiant, feeding on the heat and minerals that bubbled from the Earth's core. As eons passed, the fury began to cool. The skies cleared, revealing a sun that pierced through thinning clouds, casting an eerie, reddish glow over the farming continents. Oceans pooled in vast basins, their waters a primordial soup, alive with microscopic wonders. Imagine standing on a barren shore if you could survive the heat, where the waves crashed with a thunderous rhythm, carrying the salty tang of dissolved minerals. No birds sang, no insects buzzed. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant rumble of volcanoes or the hiss of steam rising from hydrothermal springs. Here, in these ancient seas, life took its first tentative steps toward complexity. Mats of cyanobacteria carpeted the shallows, their blue-green hues shimmering under the waves, releasing oxygen that would one day transform the atmosphere into something breathable. It was a slow alchemy, turning a hostile world into a cradle. But beneath the surface, in the lightless abysses, lurked shadows that even science struggles to fully illuminate. Enter the Shadow Leviathan, a colossal being, elusive and whispered about in fossil fragments, that patrolled the midnight zones long before any fin or flipper broke the waves. This creature, with its sinuous form gliding through currents colder than ice, was no mere fish or reptile. It hunted with senses tuned to the faintest vibrations, its bioluminescent lures flickering like ghostly stars in the void. Was it a predator born of the deep vents, armored in scales that absorbed light rather than reflected it? Or something more primordial, a bridge between the microbial world and the beasts to come? We may never know its full story, for the Shadow Leviathan vanished into the sediments, leaving only echoes in the rock, a reminder that the ocean's depths hold mysteries that time itself guards jealously. Fast forward through the haze of ages, to about 540 million years ago, when the Cambrian explosion ignited like a cosmic spark. Suddenly, the seas teemed with life forms that would seem alien to us today, creatures with segmented bodies, grasping appendages, and eyes that pierced the murky waters. Trilobites scuttled across the seafloor, their armored shells clicking like ancient machinery, while Anomalocaris, the first true apex predators, sliced through the currents with razor-sharp mouthparts. The air above these oceans carried a faint, briny mist, mingled with the ozone scent of frequent storms. Volcanic islands dotted the horizon, their slopes steaming and barren, erupting in plumes that painted the sky in fiery oranges and purples at dusk. It was a world of perpetual twilight in some regions, where massive supercontinents like Rodinia began to fracture, sending tsunamis crashing against jagged coasts. Venturing onto land was a perilous dream back then. The first plants simple mosses and liverworts clung to damp rocks, their earthy aroma the first hint of green life conquering the sterile dirt. But the soil was thin, eroded by relentless rains that fell from leaden clouds, carving rivers that snaked through valleys like veins of liquid silver. Insects hadn't yet evolved to fill the air with their hum instead. The soundtrack was the ceaseless patter of water on stone, the groan of shifting plates, and the occasional boom of a distant eruption. Imagine the thrill and terror of it, all a planet alive, but unforgiving, where survival meant adapting to extremes we can scarcely comprehend. As we delve deeper into this forgotten epoch, around 440 million years ago in the Ordovician, the seas swelled with diversity. Giant nautiloids, ancestors of today's squid, propelled themselves through coral reefs that rivaled modern wonders, their tentacles trailing like ethereal ribbons. The water was warmer then, infused with the metallic tang of iron-rich sediments, and schools of jawless fish darted in synchronized dances, evading predators in a ballet of evolution. Yet, catastrophe loomed. Massive ice sheets crept from the poles, locking away water and exposing vast mudflats that baked under a harsher sun. The air grew crisp, carrying the chill of impending extinction, the first great die-off, where 90% of marine species vanished in a blink of geological time. It was a somber symphony, the planet pruning its own garden to make way for the new. And in the shadowy corners of these changing oceans, the Shadow Leviathan's legacy lingered. Perhaps its descendants evolved into forms that slithered onto land. But the creature itself remains a phantom, a silhouette in the fossil record that sparks wonder and unease. What drove it to such depths? Hunger, curiosity, or an instinct to escape the surface world's volatility? These questions pull at us, urging us to peer further into the abyss. If this journey through veiled epochs ignites your sense of wonder, subscribe to Future Lens to explore more worlds beyond time and imagination, where science meets the soul of discovery. Pressing onward into the Silurian and Devonian periods, around 420 to 360 million years ago, life finally claimed the land in earnest. The first forests rose, towering ferns and club mosses that reached toward the heavens, their fronds rustling in winds that now carried the fresh, resinous scent of vegetation. Amphibians, those brave pioneers, hauled themselves from ponds with clumsy limbs, their skin glistening in the humid air, the ground squelched underfoot, alive with millipedes the size of snakes and scorpions as large as dogs, their chitinous clicks echoing through the undergrowth. Skies were often overcast, volcanic ash filtering the light into a diffused glow that made the landscapes feel dreamlike, almost otherworldly. Rivers teemed with armored fish, their scales flashing like buried treasure, while the oceans birthed the first shark-sleek hunters that cut through waves with effortless menace. But beauty intertwined with danger. Massive floods reshaped continents, and the air hummed with the threat of super eruptions that blanketed regions in ash, turning day to night. It was an era of experimentation, where evolution painted with bold strokes lobe-finned fish, developing limbs that would one day become our own arms and legs. Feel the pulse of it, the Earth's heartbeat quickening, life surging forward in a tapestry of trial and triumph. Then came the Carboniferous, 360 to 300 million years ago, a time of lush swamps and coal-farming forests that stretched like endless emerald seas. Giant dragonflies with wingspans like eagles zipped through the mist, their iridescent bodies catching glints of sunlight piercing the canopy. The air was heavy with moisture, scented by decaying leaves and blooming lycopods, fostering an oxygen-rich atmosphere that fueled massive arthropods, spiders the size of cats, centipedes coiling like serpents. Nights were alive with the croaks of early amphibians and the distant crash of falling trees, while volcanoes continued their eternal vigil, spewing lava that cooled into basalt plains. It was a verdant paradise, yet one laced with peril, where quicksand bogs swallowed the unwary and predatory reptiles began to stir. As we approach the Permian, Around 300 to 250 million years ago, the final chapter, before the dinosaurs dawned, the world grew drier. Continents merging into the supercontinent Pangaea. Deserts expanded, their sands whispering under scorching winds, while inland seas evaporated, leaving salt flats that gleamed like mirrors. The air carried a dusty dryness, punctuated by the sulfurous belch of supervolcanoes in Siberia, which would trigger the greatest extinction event in history. Reptiles dominated now, synapsids with sail-backed fins roaming scrublands that crackled with heat. The oceans, once teeming, grew acidic, their waves lapping against shores littered with the remnants of dying reefs. In this prelude to the Mesozoic, the Shadow Leviathan's enigma fades further into myth, but its influence echoes. Perhaps it was a harbinger, a creature whose adaptations paved the way for the marine reptiles that followed. We stand at the threshold, gazing back at a world that was both cradle and crucible. And so, as we return to our present, reflect on this, the Earth before dinosaurs was not a mere backdrop, but the architect of all that followed. Those volcanic fires forged the continents we walk, those ancient seas birthed the oxygen we breathe, those shadowy creatures whispered the secrets of survival into the ear of evolution. In understanding this lost epoch, we glimpse our own fragility and resilience, a poetic reminder that life, in all its mystery, endures through the ages, shaping worlds we can only imagine. What other secrets lie buried in the rock, waiting for us to uncover? The journey through time never truly ends,